Hey guys, Marmalade here. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to post Q&A video episode number 2. I'd asked on my community tab on my YouTube channel and a couple other places for some questions specifically about the PCT and maybe what I know now that I've finished it. So they have to be related to that. So please, you can ask them if you want at the bottom. Also, don't forget to subscribe and like and hit the notification bell in the upper right if you haven't already. And by the way, I'm looking right into the sun again, and I'm squinting big time, so I apologize for that. I probably will shade my eyes once in a while when it gets particularly bad. But let's go with some more questions today. I have 5 of them today, so let's go through those. Um, and if you do leave a question, I use it. I will give you credit if you want it in a following video. All right, question number 1 is from a friend of mine. He goes by Wolf Adventures. I copied all the questions down, and I can't even read my own writing, but it says, gear used, what worried me, what didn't, and did you regret not having a stove? How did you manage without hot coffee? Haha. So I'll go, the last one is probably the easier one. I drink coffee every morning in my regular life, and I did for the longest time on the PCT, but when I looked at how much time it was taking, and how much fuel it was taking, if you extrapolate that over a whole long distance hike, I love hot coffee, but it wasn't that important, and it made me just get out of camp later and later. So for most of my hike, I've just put cold soak coffee. I just get instant coffee, things like that, put in my water bottle. If I have any kind of creamer, I hate black coffee, but when you water it down enough with a full bottle of water, it's not very strong. But I don't know if I actually feel the caffeine or it's psychological, but I really enjoy that in the mornings. So the first liter I have or actually 700 milliliters, which is just under a liter that's in my chest pouch, is coffee. Every once in a while, if it was just depending on how I felt, I wouldn't do coffee. I would do actually electrolytes and just get something. If I knew it was going to be a really hot, long, dry day or something, I would do electrolytes early in the morning. And it just, for some reason, felt like water and not coffee. And of course, on trail, you don't have a lot of choices. So let's see what else you asked me. So cold soaking. It was a great experiment, and it helped me go a lot lighter. It was another piece of gear I didn't have to touch or deal with or pack or any of that kind of stuff. I didn't have to worry about getting fuel canisters and where am I going to get them. Is my canister almost empty and all that. But I really, really miss cooking. There's some stats out there that I'm going to look it up again, but people basically, I went lighter, but what happened was I ended up not eating very much because I found out that, when you rehydrate like ramen and Nora's rice, stuff like that, I don't care about the cold part, but it never hydrated and tasted right. When ramen is warm and Nora's is warm, it tastes different. I don't know if it just kind of unleashes all the seasonings that are in there, but when it's cold, it tasted horrible. And I even had a hard time eating ramen, which I love ramen. So I'm glad I did it. I mean, it helped me probably get through those 2 months, but I probably, unless I experiment on a weekend trip or something, I'm going to always bring a stove from now on. I'm going to do a separate gear review. He's asking me what worked and what didn't. I'm going to do a gear review of my pack, and if you guys are interested, let me know. I'm going to go over everything I brought, things that have failed, things that I lost, things that I replaced, things like that. Does that interest you? And how they work compared to maybe how I thought they were going to work. So I will save that for another time. So that's question number 1. All right, question number 2 is from Steve Alcocer 4862. How many times did you get lost in the 2 months you were on trail, even while using the 2 mapping apps you use on trail? So we use what used to be Guthook, now they changed the name to Far Out app, and you buy a specific trail and you can follow the trail and know where you are. I also use Gaia in tandem with that. And to answer your question, it's funny because I don't have much fear at all about animals, about, I don't like heights, like severe drop-offs, but I've gone over a ton of dangerous river crossings, rock crossings, things like that. That stuff doesn't bother me anymore. I don't worry about it. I don't think about it. But my one semi-irrational fear that I have is getting lost. The feeling that, I don't know if you guys have that, let me know, but like just every once in a while I've taken the wrong turn, and actually I've had a couple times where I had one time where I took the wrong turn, which is no big deal, but my app wasn't catching up to where I was, so it wasn't actually finding me, so it couldn't tell me where to go, so I didn't know where I was compared to my app. And that's where if I had some map knowledge and some map and compass knowledge, it would help. But so we do rely a lot and too much on technology. But so that's my one irrational fear, is getting lost. And to answer your question, I didn't. I hit a ton of places where there's just there's no signs, or there's a lot of, you're getting a very populated area, and there's a lot of other trails. And generally the PCT is the most worn of the side trails. You can kind of tell, but I don't, because of this irrational fear of getting lost, I don't take it for chance. When I get to an intersection and there's no signs, I'll pick what I think is the PCT, but I'll walk about 50 to 100 yards, no further, and then I'll check my app. So there's a lot of times I check my app a lot during the day, and it's purely just to make sure I'm on the road, because on the right trail, because I went through tons of sections this year where there was no markers literally for 20, 30 miles. And they've gone to, which I don't like, they're going away from the PCT emblem, which used to be everywhere, and I think some people steal them, so that's kind of a problem. But now they're just using a white reflective diamond, and so that's one way of knowing if you're on the PCT. So there are sections where there's no PCT markers, but there's lots of diamonds. But even then, if I haven't seen a PCT marker in a long time, I just check. I don't want to walk 2 miles and find out I went the wrong way. So to answer your question, I didn't get lost very far. I did take the wrong way about, I would say, 4 to 6 times this, but I mean, it was not much. I walked 50, like half a football field. I stopped to make sure that I was on the right trail, and if I wasn't, I went back, and that way I didn't lose a lot of time and I didn't get stressed or anything like that. All right, number 3 is from somebody who's been following the channel for a long time, Mountain Cat 8. This is kind of a long question, but I'll try to break it up and try to answer as quickly as I can. If you were going to section hike the PCT over again, knowing what you know now, what are 12 things you would do differently? In effect, different foods, hike portions of the trail different times of the year because of the heat or cold, do more solo hiking or group hiking, or just the same as you did during your hike. How about bring different rain gear or just the same? Try new solar panels. Was your 50-pound weight loss too much or just right this year? Did you lose upper body muscle mass and gain lower body muscle mass, or perhaps you gain muscle all over? So we'll just start out with I think most of it will be pretty easy to answer. I don't know if there's 12 there, but I'll just answer this. So different foods, it's always evolving. I'm learning. I learn from other hikers. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on other ways. I might actually prep a lot of meals. Because I'm living in my car, I don't have a kitchen, or I would actually buy a dehydrator and one of those things that shrink wraps, you can get at like Costco, and make a lot of my food. And I may start doing that too. I may have to ask a friend to maybe start borrowing their kitchen once in a while. But the only thing that happens with food is I just get sick of stuff, and I said that a lot this year. So there's just like, I can't eat a Cliff Bar. Could I stomach one if I was dying? Yes. I don't like oatmeal in the mornings anymore. So there's just things I don't like anymore. So this year everybody was kind enough when I put it out there. If you want to help support my hike this year by doing a resupply box, I made a master list of breakfast, dinners, and I don't do designated lunches. I just snack all day. So I made a massive list of snacks that I still like, that I could think of. And that helps the person buy it, but also helps me get what I like, so I'll eat more. So, let's see the question here. It's not, I do try to mix up the foods, but there's certain things I like enough that I eat all the time. So it's a mix of both things, mixing up some and keeping the staples I like. Like this year, because I didn't cook, I had tortillas, salami, and cheese, and I still like that, and I'll still eat it. So yeah, that's the answer to that. Would I hike different portions of the trail different times of the year because of the heat or cold? I do that. I live in San Diego, so like I may go out next week and try my new tent out, but I go out all the time in the shoulder season when it's nice out there. The winter and the summer is pretty bad, but the rest, 80% of the year is perfect out there. But no, something I like, and I've said it often, is the hardest two things of through hiking anything is the mental side of it, but is the weather. The weather, it can be the hardest thing to deal with, hot or cold and otherwise. So one of the things that interests me, that I don't know if it's like a type 2 fun, but I like having to start at one end and go to the other and deal with the weather and the time of the year and trying to reach that. I didn't get to do the PCT all one year, but I like the challenge of that. If I ever do a long hike again or something, I will not skip around. A lot of people do that. I've even seen people that I don't feel is the right way. You can do what you want, but I don't think is right, is they'll just skip around and do everything that's downhill. They'll go up to one town that you would normally climb up to. I've seen it when I was on the PCT. I climbed 24 straight miles uphill to Wrightwood, and there's people that were just flipping around, and they did it downhill and then got picked up, went to another uphill, but went to the end of it, went downhill. So it's to each your own, but it's like, what's the challenge of that? Dealing with the weather and everything. So no, I wouldn't skip around and choose, unless I'm just doing like a 3 or 5 day trip. If I'm through hiking, I want to do it from one end to the other and do it the way it's meant to be and experience. And that's why the accomplishment is so tough. If I was doing another long hike, he's asking me if I would do more solo hiking or group hiking. I tend to like solo because the way I film and stuff, so I'm kind of a weird hiker to hike with. I'm fast most of the time, but I stop a lot to film. So it's hard unless you have another vlogger that does the same thing. It's hard to match up. But no, I learned a lot hiking with the Codgers this year. And you know, if we were doing a 25-mile day, we would just say, okay, let's meet. There's good water at 11 miles. Just to meet there. It doesn't matter what time. And you know, if you stop for a break for a half hour, somebody's going to roll in 5 or 10 minutes later. So that's how we did it. So I liked it because I relished my time alone. I like breaks and camping and even hiking around people sometimes, but I don't want to hike with people all the time, and I don't want to be alone all the time, if that makes any sense. So on these through hikes, I would always start alone, unless it's somebody that I think we would hike similarly with. I will generally hike alone, but if you go in season and you're in the bubble, you'll meet plenty of people, so you'll be hiking around people. So one thing I will upgrade is my rain gear. I got the cheaper, less expensive Frog Togs rain jacket, and it was actually perfectly fine on the PCT. It only rained on me 3 or 4 times the whole time. Unfortunately, I found out how good it was or not on the last day when I did that 30-mile, you know, over 7,000 feet of climb, and it poured and poured and poured. My rain jacket being cheap, it wetted out in like half hour. So I was soaked. The only good thing, and it was very cold and very windy, even though it was summertime, but I found out that, you know, as long as my body heat's generating while I'm hiking, then I was wet all day but warm. So I'm going to invest in something. I'll have to incur a few more ounces in weight, but if I ever do another trail, or even for the future, I'm going to get a better jacket, because I just think other trails have a lot more weather than the PCT. Not that you never get on the PCT, but it's less than the AT and the CDT. So yeah, I already have my eye on a jacket that I think I can get at work on a discount. So I'm currently working on new rain gear. So the last question is it's like 3 or 4 questions, but all in one. Was your 50-pound weight loss too much or just right? Did you lose upper body mass or gain lower body, or was it just muscle all over? So it's weird how your body evolves, and I learned this last year. Actually, I've learned it every year when I've gotten on trail for a significant. Actually, not the 2 years in the Sierras I didn't, because I wasn't out there longer than 3 weeks, so my body didn't transform. But I definitely saw it this one and my first year when I flipped up the Canadian border, went down. I started this year overweight, 265, but I hide it well. But I mean, I lost 50 pounds, so I was at 215 when I was done, and that's exactly where I should be. But hikers, it's weird. If you don't know this unless you've done long distance hiking. If you go even for a week, your body doesn't transform the way it does long distance. So I've always had big, strong legs, and I had pretty good sized arms when I left, and you know, upper body mass. And the first thing hikers lose is all your upper body, not all, but you lose most of your muscle weight, because we kind of pretend we're like T-Rexes, because you're not really using your arms except for hiking like this with pulls. So what happens is, first of all, you lose a lot. So I lost a lot of fat weight, but I lost a lot of muscle weight, because my upper body, I could put my hand, I hadn't been able to put my hand around my like mid forearm for 30 years. So everything got much thinner, my chest and everything, but you lose your love handles and the stomach and everything. I lost all that. But what's really unusual and where I lost more weight is because you're doing long distance hiking, you're not doing like short, super steep, really difficult hikes. Let's say you're going to every day go up and go 5 miles and 5,000 feet. That's extremely exhausting to your body, and it builds mass. But what happens with long distance hiking when you're just doing it, it's kind of like a runner. You become a runner in a runner's body. So what's funny is I thought, well, man, when I first started the PCT, I thought my legs are already huge, you know, compared to the rest of me. My legs are going to be giant when I hike all these miles. But what happened was I not only leaned down my whole body, but my legs got thinner and thinner, and you know you have more definition. But your legs, you lose some weight, I guess, in your legs, but it's more that your body leans down to adapt to the kind of hiking you're doing. So it did the opposite of what I thought. I thought I'm going to waste away up here, which I did, but my legs will just be giant, and then I'm going to be really out of proportion. But your whole body just leans down, and it makes it easier on your body having long, especially I'm tall, if you have long, lean legs, it just makes the sport easier. So it was really interesting how my body transformed. But I hope that answers some of your questions there. All right, number 4 is from Anita Simmons, 3599. What type of navigation did you use? In fact, apps, paper maps, compass, both. I kind of mentioned that a little bit already. Which areas are you going to revisit and car camp or stay at a resort perhaps? Finally, what did you feel you gained by backpacking the PCT, and how do you feel this experience will affect your life in the future? So we'll do it in a few parts. So I'll try to show a few video recordings or clips of what I use, but if you guys don't know it, it's called Far Out, and it's not like Google where you can literally put in the address and it tells you how to go there. Far Out, they create a GPS route for particular trails, and they're doing biking now and all kinds of things. I think rafting or canoeing or kayaking too, so river trips. But you can buy a specific trail, and what's great about the app that we like is when you're in the wilderness, there's generally no service every once in a while, but pretty much no service. So we put our phones on airplane mode to save the battery, so it's not constantly searching for service. And this app works talking to satellites, so you don't need any service. You can be in the middle of nowhere and it knows exactly where you are. So it's very it makes it not so concerning, especially with my thing about getting lost. You know, if I take the wrong turn, I can find out where I am and get corrected. So that's what I use. I also use Gaia, which does the exact same thing, but it's actually more detailed. And you don't buy it's more like Google. It just has everywhere. You don't buy a trail. It just has, and it knows where you are. And so a lot of times, if it doesn't show it on my Far Out app, I can look on Gaia and show, oh, maybe, let's say I take a wrong turn, it'll show me, oh, there's a dirt road right here getting back to the PCT. So it'll show some of that on Far Out, but sometimes not, and that could be on Gaia. So I kind of use them hand in hand. I use Gaia a lot more when I'm just day hiking in San Diego and I go to places that are nowhere near the PCT. I use Gaia exclusively. What areas are you going to revisit, car camp, or stay at a resort perhaps? I wrote some notes here. Let me see where I put the notes. I definitely want to go see, I did spend a lot of time there, 2 days worth of hiking, but I want to see Crater Lake is just incredible. I want to see the area too more, for sure. And let me find my notes here. Of course, anything Sierra. There's so much of the Sierra. You should never like regret stuff, but I just regret I wasn't into the sport in my 20s. I can imagine, I've only been hiking 8 years, and the amount of things that I've seen and explored and experienced is incredible. So imagine if you could extrapolate that if you got into the sport when you were 20, and I'm 61 now. Imagine, I would actually truly, especially in my younger years, I would have set out to try to explore every section of the Sierra and try to get on every trail and everything I could, just explore every quadrant until I've seen everything and almost become an expert. I would have, if I was a young person, I would have moved up there. And I'm not, I skied a little bit in the winter in Tahoe in Northern California where I grew up, but I don't know if I'd want to be up there in the snow, but I would probably find a job just to work in the winter and then just go explore the Sierras every single summer. So that would have been an incredible thing, but I'm trying to do as much as I can with that now. I've been to Timberline Lodge 3 times, but I would still go to Timberline Lodge. I wouldn't mind doing that, the route that goes around Mount Hood. And I wouldn't mind doing that Mount Hood trail route. It's like 40 miles around, so that'd be kind of fun to do. I definitely want to see Stephan again, which is a lake up in northern Washington. It's beautiful, and I may hike there, or you could even take a boat and take it over there. So there's no roads to go in, so you have to either hike or take a boat, or you have to take a water plane. All right, so another one I would definitely do again is Goat Rocks Wilderness, which I just did, and Knife's Edge. That was amazing. We got lucky. We had super big smoke there for days. When we got there that morning, we got a clear day. The only tough thing was, we got lucky. We weren't complaining because it was such bad smoke that we were so grateful to see anything. But it got really, really foggy, and so it kind of blocked about half of the trail and about half of the time. So my video, I was really proud of how it came out. It was super pretty, but I would love to see that again, maybe on a clear day. But yeah, so that, I would say those are my main ones that I can think of right off the bat. There's so many pretty, anything, Northern Cascades in Washington is my favorite part of the PCT up there. I would do that area again too, up by the monument. So, and the last part of her question was, what do you feel you gained from backpacking the PCT? How do you feel this experience has affected your life in the future? So has it 1,000% changed me? No, but it's changed me almost, it seems like in so many ways, like probably 50% of me is different because of this trail. And it's not because of the PCT. I guess it is because I did the PCT, but it could have been the AT or anyone. The way I perceive things, what's important to me, me working on myself and trying to chill and calm down about things that I put way too much importance on and stress over that don't matter, and priorities in life. And American society is, you go to college and you get a job and you buy a house and you have kids, and that's a sign of status and a sign of happiness, and that's a sign of success. And I just wish I would have learned what I know now when I was young, and that when I was in the corporate world, I fell in that trap, man. It was the next promotion, the next title. I wanted to get the next title, even if I didn't make more money, because it's status, right? Move up to a bigger company and just all that stuff. And we live in a society, it's hurt me in dating, because one of the first questions here in Southern California is, what do you do? What's your job? And I mean, I get it, but it's unfortunate, because if you're looking for a relationship, I guess you want to, for a woman, you want to know somebody's stable. But for me, the measure is, what kind of human being am I, and how am I going to treat you? How good of a partner am I? And I'm an awesome partner, and it's like, it's hard to even get a date, because people are like, oh, you're living in your car, which is an experiment, But it's like, oh, you want to live in a van, you want to travel, you want to explore. So trying to even get a date with somebody that's got a career and they're locked into a mortgage and a career and all that, they're not going anywhere. It's like you're in two different worlds, and it's okay with me, because when I was in the corporate world and I dated people like that, I had a bigger field to choose from. But I don't need a ton of people to choose from. I just need one person who wants to maybe live the nomadic life and has an adventurous spirit, even if it's part-time. I don't have to live in the van all the time, but I want to go on the road and see things and explore things. So that's changed me. And I kind of intimated about how it's affected me in the future is, at some point, if I do become nomadic, and that is my plan right now, is to hopefully be nomadic and get a van and things like that. But I'll probably start out in my SUV. But I'm not going to do it forever, especially as I get older. I am 61, but I'm a pretty young 61. But I don't want to be 75 living out of my car and all that stuff. So I'll eventually will settle down and slow down. But I want to do it while I can, and why, so that's how the trail has changed me. It's just that it's opened up it's opened up the world to me when it comes to exploring. I never ever thought this way. I grew up we grew up small, and I grew up with my grandmother and an only child, and we never had much money or had anything. So going to foreign places or seeing these amazing places it wasn't even real to me. Like, I would see places in Italy, which I would love to go to, but it didn't seem real. Like, maybe it's a place, but I'm never going there. It's not for me. So now I have, I can do it in a more micro way, which is in the U.S. And I can still travel other places, but there's some trails in other countries I want to do. But for now, I can at least explore and see all these places in the United States that I've seen. And I've already got a lot of things off my bucket list, and seen some things I've always wanted to see doing the PCT. So that's a start. All right, because we did 5, it's going to be a little long on this one. But number 5 is from somebody who's followed me for a long time, Stephan Thompson. He asks, how has your view of the trail changed over the years? Is it still the same as in 2019? And this is a great question. It kind of overlaps what I was just talking about, but I wrote some notes down. And the short answer is, I could say that walking 2,653 miles is way, way further than I ever expected. I don't think you have, I section hike the PCT, would do 50 miles here and there. And even 50 miles over 2 days or 2.5 days is a lot, but you can't fathom until you do it once how far it is. And, for me, having to do over 5 years because of everything that happened, just made it seem even further, And it's a long ways. Also, another thing that I thought of is that the PCT is much more difficult than people give it credit for. It's hard because it's going up against the AT, which a lot of people consider the most difficult because of how steep it is, and rough, and the weather, and the bugs, and all that, and the humidity. So a lot of people consider the AT to be the toughest, and it may be. And the CDT is just wild and rough and tough and things like that. I think a lot of people think that's why a lot of people don't do it, is it maybe be intimidating. But the PCT gets like kind of this rep that's like the easiest. They only go to a certain percentage grade because they allow horses to go on the trail and this and that. But it's a tough trail. You can ask anybody, even the Carters I was hiking with agreed. But you can ask anybody that's done it. It's not. I don't know why people think it's just a cakewalk or something. And maybe people don't think that, but I think relative to the other two, people think that. But it's a hard trail. That's something I learned. And you know, I hiked a lot in the desert, so when I started the trail, it was like doing home. So it wasn't hard. I mean, some days are hard because you're going uphill and stuff, but it wasn't that hard or intimidating. But when you look at the trail as a whole, it's hard, and all the things you have to go through to finish it. And the last thing I'll say about how it's changed since, at least my perception, and how it actually has changed since 2019 is, as you guys probably know if you follow the trail, it's getting harder and harder and harder to not only get a permit, but it's getting really hard to ever complete the trail all in 1 year and actually do every mile. That's the thing, is there's a lot of people that skip a lot of burn sections and things like that that are closed, and there's nothing they could do about that. A couple of years ago they did it, and they had to skip 500-600 miles of trail, and then they said they finished the trail. It's like, well, wait a minute, that's like a quarter of the trail you skipped and you finished the trail. So I think it's getting harder and harder. This year was exceptionally hard. Only people that made it were the ones that had to risk their lives going through the Sierras in May. And when I got on in July at Donner Pass, which is up by Truckee, by Tahoe, north of Tahoe, I was hiking around a lot of those people because the Sierras were so hard and took so long that it put them a little behind the bubble. And the stories I heard and the things they told me and how difficult it was, and the pictures and the videos I saw from their phones, insane. Literally every day you could lose your life. So to be able to do it from one end to the other and not skip sections, you know, sometimes you have to, like this year they had to, after I quit or finished the trail at Stevens Pass, they had the Codgers and some of the people I was hiking with got another 80 miles and they had to do a reroute around stuff. So they still kept the continuous footpath, but man, I would say that's the thing that's changed the most is our environment. The amount of fires in the West Coast, you don't hear that on the AT and rarely on the CDT. You get smoke from other fires on the CDT, but a lot of times the CDT is not burning. But there's something about the West Coast, man, I don't know how to solve it, but more and more and more of the trail is burnt now. And if it's not burning the year you're walking in it, you're walking through all of the old burn from previous years. I mean, I don't even know. I bet you 50% of the trail has old burn. Some of it's grown back, some of it hasn't. But we have to do something about it. But that's, I would say, are the three things that are the biggest change since 2019. All right, guys, that's it now. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm looking for more questions if you want. If not, it's okay. We have enough for one more video. Appreciate everybody's questions and comments and just positivity and a lot of attaboys for finishing the trail. I appreciate that. These are meant to just kind of share whatever experiences and knowledge I have in case you're interested or you're thinking about down the road you're going to do the trail. Maybe everything I'm talking about, maybe little nuggets help you in some way, and that's the point of most of my videos, is to help other. It's a way to express myself too, but again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hit that notification bell, share it if you want somewhere with me, that helps too. And until next time, we'll see you down the trail.